Okay, Brian, so we're on to episode 6 of season 2, Ascension, the second part of Dwayne Barry. So, in the X-Files lore, is this a prominent episode or not so much?
I think it is, but just by virtue of what happens in it, some pretty huge events happen, stuff that is going to kind of affect the direction of the show and what happens in the future, events that we're always going to keep coming back to. I remember. I think you have to take this as well, not as a singular episode, but definitely as the second part of a bigger story. And when season 2 first arrived on our television screens, X-Files was it was doing really well by that point. You know, like a lot of people had come back after season 1. It kind of garnered a big following. And Fox started to realise that they were actually onto a pretty hot property, and as such, they released these two-parters, because there's a couple of two-parters here, and then we end the season on a cliffhanger as well. And they released these as feature-length movies, straight to video feature-length movies. So you know, like with all the opening credits and stuff kind of cut out of the second episode, so it just kind of seamlessly went into the next episode, and they do work as movies. You know, and I think that's kind of the way you got to treat it. As it stands, you know, I think for me the events, the way you would describe what happens in this episode are possibly bigger than the way in which it's pulled off. But we'll get into that. So yeah. So
just as a quick recap, can you remember what you gave Dwayne Barry?
I believe I gave it a 4.5 out of 5.
Yeah, and I think I was a 4.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay, so let's take it away, Brian. Lead us into this episode.
Okay, Dake. So we start off the episode, and Mulder gets home, and he switches his answering machine on and gets the voicemail from Scully. Obviously, from the last episode, we ended that episode with a cliffhanger that Dwayne Barry had turned up to her house, and we just heard him breaking in and attacking her, basically. So yeah, Mulder pretty much as fast as lightning scarpers over to Scully's house to find basically the police on the scene, and just, you know, dusting for prints, this, that, and the other. And yeah, broken window, and he sees in his mind, because I think we see that profiler element of Mulder as well coming into this. He sees the stuff in his mind. So we heard it before. This time we see it the way Mulder is profiling it, and Dwayne Barry, yeah, he takes Scully.
I thought this was a fantastic opening sequence. I really did, and it just threw me right into the episode really hard, because I loved the fact that you get this visual representation of Fox kind of doing his profiler thing. You know, you hear about the conversation, you hear the background, and it's almost as if he's envisaging what happens.
Yeah.
You know, it's really nicely set up. There's some fantastically tense music going along with this scene as well. It's really moodily shot. I like everything about it. The whole Mulder just profiling the scene, and then as he gets through the end of it, working out in his mind's eye, you get Scully's mum appearing as well. Yeah, so you get that nice little sort of like emotional twinge that you're going to get throughout the episode type of with Mulder on this one. I think it's one of the better openings I've seen of the X-Files episodes.
Yeah, I mean, I think it definitely adds to the tension that was created at the end of the last episode. You know, like it was mostly kind of audio in the last episode, and now to see it, I mean, you have like a protective kind of feeling towards Scully anyway, because of what we heard last episode. So to see it, you're kind of like, you're really rooting for her, and you're particularly rooting for Mulder to get there and save her. And yeah, so like Sheila Larkin, who plays Scully's mum, I think she's really great casting for Scully's mum. But you can tell right off the bat she's nothing like Scully. The two of them are very different characters. I think she seems like someone who would be much more into kind of Mulder's way of thinking. She says as much. She has this little conversation with Mulder in which she says she had a dream before this happened. She had a dream about Scully being taken, and we never get that dream described as well, which is quite funny. I think she just simply says she had a dream in which she was taken. So that just kind of leaves that to your imagination. But the point is, she almost has this sixth sense thing going on, and it puts her in tune with Mulder right off the bat. Like the two of them have this thing in common that they're open-minded in that sense.
See, I took that. I did a note about that conversation as well. Like she had a dream, and I attributed that very much to Beyond the Sea when Scully has the dream about her father sitting there talking to her. That kind of streak that maybe they are kind of attuned to certain things. Scully's mum is just a little bit more open-minded to it.
Yeah, because in Beyond the Sea, when Scully had the dream about her dad, she didn't want to face it. And it was only by being confronted with Luther Lee Boggs that she was forced to face it. Whereas here, it's almost like Scully's mum is just, I had the dream, and then this happened. And it's like, it's like she wanted to call Scully, but she didn't. And it was only because of how she knew Scully would react that she didn't call her. Not because she didn't believe, but because she knew Scully wouldn't believe. So...
Also, just in between those two scenes, we get the sort of theme music in that, and just at the end, rather than trust no one, it says deny everything.
Yes, something that will crop up in this episode.
Yeah, and then it made me think: has this been happening a lot? Have I been missing these messages? But this is the first time it happened, yeah.
No, I think Erlenmeyer Flask had trust no one.
Right.
So usually the truth is out there. I think I could be wrong on this, but I'm pretty sure that Erlenmeyer Flask had trust no one, and that was the first time they went with something different. And then so it tends to happen during your big mythology arc episodes. They might. It doesn't. Not all the time. Just every once in a blue moon, they will kind of just throw something out there, but. Yeah,
but it's a kind of blink and miss it.
Yeah. Because you're so in tune with the truth is out there. That's what you expect to see. So you're not really looking, and sometimes you will miss it because you're not looking. But anyway, so we get past the opening credits, and we get the scene with Scully's mum and Mulder, and then we move from there to Skinner debriefing some higher ups with Mulder, Krycek, and Cancerman in the room. And Mulder points out that they should be asking how Dwayne Barry even found Scully, because he believes it's the implant. And basically, the looks on everyone's faces and what they're all saying is essentially that Mulder, you're crazy, shut up. Skinner tells Mulder to go home because he's too close to the case. So, what do you think about this scene?
I think it's nice because you've got Krycek, you've got Skinner, Smoking Man, and you've got some nice little glances.
Yes.
Between a couple of the characters.
Particularly with Krycek to Cancerman. Whenever little things pop up, Krycek's kind of looking over to Cancerman. It's almost like he's trying to gauge what he thinks, how he should act. What should I do in this situation to either bring Mulder down or help him up? And it's just, there's this constant kind of underlying just lying going on, really. Just this secrecy and this dark conspiracy. So
the devious nature in amongst these gentlemen here. And then I think you've got Skinner, who's he knows that Mulder could be an asset in this case, but he's too close to it, he's too emotional about it, he needs to take a step back. So again, you don't feel like Skinner's trying to force him out, he's just trying to do what's best for the case. That's what I feel anyway. Again, I seem to be leaning on this. Skinner's like a guy that just wants the job done right.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's about it.
Yeah. So after that, we have Dwayne Barry driving rather erratically to Nick Cave's Red Right Hand. Yeah, a song that I heard here first, actually. This is
Scream for me.
Yeah, I mean, Scream obviously came a few years after this, a couple of years after this. But what a wacky song. And it works really well with this character.
Tremendously well.
So, anytime you want to kind of point out that a character has something of a, to say the least, wacky psychosis, this is pretty much the go-to song, I think. But yeah, I mean, we get him once again doing your favourite trick of referring to himself in the first person. So he's pulled over by the police for driving somewhat erratically, and he's like, "Please don't stop, Dwayne Barry. Please, for your own sake." And then Scully basically kills this police officer because she she bangs on the boot of the car, and it distracts him long enough for Dwayne Barry to pull a gun on him and shoot him and kill him. And Dwayne Barry gets out the car, lifts up the bonnet to presumably give Scully a good telling off.
Yes.
But
see, this scene was weird. I actually felt sorry for Dwayne Barry in this scene because he literally looks as if he can't help it. He's that compelled, he's that driven, he needs to get to a place he doesn't know where. He just has to get there. He doesn't even want to hurt people, he doesn't want to do what he's doing, he just is compelled. And I really felt quite sorry for him in this moment. I thought it was a great change of pace from the first one, but instantly, just in a short scene, I felt sorry for the guy. Yeah,
and it's that's the key, really, is that he does not want to hurt this police officer. He's really trying to talk him down. Please just let me go. It's just that because of his psychosis, he doesn't do a very good job of talking him down. And there's a particular line which kind of cracked me up when he says that he's got to be somewhere, and this guy's like, where? And he's like, I don't know, but they'll tell me soon, like, something like that. And it's just like, yeah, you are 3 sheets to the wind, mate. So thanks to Dwayne Barry lifting the bonnet of the car up, or the boot of the car, I should say, Mulder manages to get an image from the cop car's camera.
Enhance.
I knew it. I knew when this scene came on. I'm like, Graham's gonna love this because this is We should do a video in which we collect all of these enhanced moments together. It would probably be the length of an episode. Yeah, but it's one of those typical classic X-Files moments in which they're able to do what seems rather unlikely things with standard definition cameras.
It's crazy. I mean, they truly are ahead of the curve on this one.
I mean, that was an insanely good blow-up, I've got to say. To enhance her face like that and get such a nice, clear image. But, whatever. It moves the episode along.
It does.
So, Mulder is from after that. He's listening to Dwayne Barry's conversation from the hostage situation because obviously that was all recorded by the FBI. They were all listening in, and he keeps listening to the clip in which Dwayne says, he feels like he's being called somewhere, and it's kind of hazy, but it's like a mountain that went up, ascending to the stars. And at that point, Krychek walks in with a cup of coffee for Mulder, asks him if he's sleeping or not. And Mulder makes the connection to Skyland Mountain.
What a pull. Yeah. What an absolute pull. Yeah. I don't know how he managed this, but wow.
Yeah, it's just, he really pulled it out of his ass. But, one can assume it would be like, I guess it would be the equivalent of me knowing Alton Towers, like if you think about big theme parks near you, Alton Towers is probably the one that if I saw an image of a castle or the slogan or something, I probably would think Alton Towers. about as much as I can give to that, really. But yeah, so...
Yeah, but did they really have to rip a page out of that Yellow Pages? I mean, that book's useless now.
So they go to they want to head to Blue Ridge Parkway, where this Skyland Mountain is. But Krycek is kind of a bit, shouldn't we kind of tell superiors? But Mulder's like, no, get in the car, let's get going, don't tell anyone. So after that, we do get a rather moment from Krycek as he's on the phone talking to someone down in the car park. Just basically telling them that he'll keep them informed and await their instructions and things like that. So Mulder comes, the two of them get into the car and they drive off, and you realise that Cancer Man takes an inordinately long amount of time to hang up the phone, even when somebody has already hung up on him. It was Cancer Man that Krycek was talking to, but I don't know if you caught that, because Krycek hangs up the phone, he gets into the car, has a little convo with Mulder, they start the car, then drive off, and they drive past the car with Cancer Man in, and Cancer Man is then putting his phone down, which led me to believe that actually Krycek wasn't speaking to Cancer Man at all. It just so happened that Cancer Man was sat there having a conversation with someone else that finished moments after their conversation.
I thought he was more like my dad when he got his first mobile. Like when somebody's hung up, he's still going, hello? Hello? Is this thing working? Hello? Oh, God.
Old man syndrome. Yeah. Excellent.
Yeah.
Okay. So
Mulder and Krycek driving the car.
Yeah, they're driving the car and talking, and they Mulder nearly crashes the car due to dozing off. I don't know why it is that in films and TV shows that whenever somebody's falling asleep at the car, the thing that is coming at them, it's never a motorbike or another car. It's always a truck, and it's always a truck that has that same noise that wakes them up. But yeah, that happens here, and Krycek rather humorously gives some statistics about sleep deprivation, and he says it's Mulder comes out with one of his classic Mulderisms, in which he said, "Did they tell you how many people fell asleep whilst listening to those statistics?"
Yeah.
So
I really liked this scene, and I liked it because it kind of offered a very thinly veiled similarity between Dwayne Barry's obsession and Mulder's obsession. Both of these guys are driven to fight against natural instincts like sleep to get to their goal. You've got Dwayne Barry driving to get to this mountain. You've got Mulder driving to get to Scully.
Yeah.
I thought it was a terrifically put scene that, I may not have noticed. Somehow I managed to pick this up, but I don't. And I just thought, great. And then you have this mistrust of Krycek as well. And Krycek's going to try and derail this investigation a little bit.
Yeah.
And when he offers to drive, I had this thing that he was going to maybe take Mulder the wrong way or kind of delay.
Yeah. And I like how actually that in this situation, because it's Scully that is at stake, Mulder is literally not going to trust anyone. And at this point so far, you feel like he kind of does trust Krycek a little bit, not implicitly like he does with Scully, but yeah, because of who it is they're going after, Mulder is not going to trust anyone.
Yeah, but also in this one as well, it's as if he's channeling Scully. It doesn't jump to the fact that this could be aliens. He jumps to the fact that this guy could be psychotic and could be going to hurt Scully.
He does, but he also says that he believes the implant is the implant explanation is the one that is the most likely possibility, but also that there is the possibility someone gave Dwayne Barry Scully's address. which kind.
So you feel that he's almost playing both parts of the duo now. He's both Scully and Mulder in this one thing.
Yeah.
Because Scully can't be with him, he's kind of channeling her. I thought it was a nice touch. I thought this was like one of the best scenes in the movie for me. In the episode. Keep calling them movies.
Yeah, it's a good scene for me. I'm not sure I got as much out of it as you did, but I did like it. You know, I like seeing. I'll use a word you tend to like using, the I can't even say it. Duplicitous nature of Krycek, because now that you know he's a double agent, it's always fun kind of watching what he's going to do and how he's going to say things, how he's going to worm his way into something or worm his way out of something. So it is fun watching a scene like that and thinking, what's Krycek's angle? Where's he going? So after that, we get to Skyland Mountain, and the truck driver from EBE is now operating a cable car. And Mulder orders him to get them up to the top of the mountain. And Mulder, when he gets on this cable car, cranks it way above 15, which is the speed limit that this guy said, do not crank it above.
I didn't pick out it was the same driver for the truck. I didn't notice that. But I did love the fact that it's like, don't go above 15, but yet somehow it's got a mechanism that allows it to go far above that. No,
because it normally would, because he explains to him that it's just that the cable has just been refitted and it's not yet been tested, which is why he didn't want to let them on it. So normally that speed would be fine, but because the cable hasn't been tested, it's like, look, don't go above 15, because I shouldn't even.
And I like how you say that Mulder asks him. He almost threatens him by uncocking his gun.
Yeah, he just pulls his gun. He orders him basically. Mulder's on his way up, as is Dwayne Barry, though he's in the car. Not quite sure how he's not managed to get there yet, given the head start they actually had on Mulder and Krycek, but you know, whatever. Krycek pistol whips the cable car operator. It kind of feels somewhat extreme, but yeah, he like as soon as he does it, you're kind of like, how are you going to worm your way out of this one? But yeah, he pistol whips the cable car operator and calls Cancer Man. Presumably it's Cancer Man. At any rate, we don't see who it is he's talking to, but whoever it is he's talking to, he tells them that he's stalled Mulder and will hold him up there till you advise. So yeah, I mean it's got to be Cancer Man, hasn't it? Basically.
Yeah. See, this scene was a bit of a weird one, because I mean it's like, waits until it almost gets him to his destination, then stops it. Where, you know, and then you get the scene where like Mulder's climbing out of the car, and he starts that again. And at this point I'm thinking, is Krycek trying to protect him here from doing something that could ultimately endanger his life by taking him to his destination? Does he have orders that say, watch him, don't harm him?
Yeah. Yeah. And that's certainly something that may crop up much later down the line in the series. Krycek is the reason he's one of my favourite characters is because you never know where he's coming from. He plays every angle, and he's pretty much just a survivor. At the end of the day, he's a survivor. So you never know if you never know who his allegiance is really to, other than himself, I guess. But yeah, I mean, the way I read this scene, because that was a bit of a problem for me as I was watching it, is that Krycek's like, if you want to kill this guy or stop him, you're doing a pretty kind of piss poor job of it, to be honest. But I don't think he stops the cable car until so late, because he's kind of hoping that Mulder is going to do the job for him by cranking it way above 15. You know, he knows there's a problem with this cable, or maybe a problem with this cable. So he's kind of thinking, all right, let's see how Mulder plays it, because he might end up breaking down, or heaven forbid falling off, which means he doesn't have to do anything. But once he's getting to the top, he realises actually no, he needs stopping, so he stops him, and then Mulder gets out of the car, and like if I was Krycek in that moment, I'd have just left him to his own devices, because how he was going to get up. Yeah,
it would have taken him a lot longer to get there.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Pushing him on.
But I think Krycek's thinking in that. Obviously, he's a bit kind of probably a bit stressed out in this situation as well. He's he doesn't know what he should do for the best. But I think he's trying to knock Mulder off, and he almost does. He almost knocks Mulder off the cable car. And I think when Mulder's hanging on, he's probably hoping he's going to fall off. But yeah, it does seem like a little bit of a half-assed way of trying to take Mulder out, and he almost kind of helps Mulder more than he hinders him. So yeah, not Krycek's finest moment of villainy, it must be said.
No.
Okay, so Mulder finds Dwayne Barry's car and Scully's cross. Scully's cross that she wears around the neck is in the boot.
Yeah.
And he sees a bright light coming over the hill, and then what looks like at first a UFO and then a helicopter, but then it moves like a UFO. So it's like you don't quite know which of the two this is. But it flies away, and then we hear this really maniacal laugh from Dwayne Barry. It's like it's creepy almost. It's almost a Joker kind of laugh, and either that or a Scooby-Doo villain. But So Mulder runs over the hill, finds Dwayne Barry there laughing and kind of arms raised, cheering. He's really happy that they've took Scully and not him, and and then that's when some more lights show up, and Dwayne Barry starts freaking out, thinking, oh, actually they want him as well. But so
again, it's another terrific performance. Dwayne Barry, the guy, just feels as if he's finally free of this terror, and I like the fact that he's got that sort of half facial burn. From the UFO and things like that. It's just nice little touches that you don't see any aliens of that in this episode. You just get little hints that they've been there. I liked all these little touches, and again, I think I preferred Dwayne Barry in this episode than I did in the last one.
Right.
I thought it's small touches. I think it's just small doses.
So to me, I always felt that those touches were there in Dwayne Barry.
I just think it was so much. It only has like a short time here, but it wouldn't work without the first episode.
No.
You need that to enhance this one, but I think it's really nicely done with these small touches of Dwayne Barry being extra creepy and extra crazy.
Okay. Right, so it's not a UFO, as it turns out. It is a helicopter. And they've picked Mulder and Dwayne Barry up, and we're now at some, well, I presume in the ranch part of Skyland Mountain, because there's some nice lighting going on, I must say. I don't know if you noticed that, but they have all these kind of tea lights, fairy lights, whatever, and it did look quite nicely lit. But Mulder's questioning Dwayne Barry before losing his cool. So he really wants to know where Scully is. Dwayne isn't making... Well, he is making sense. If this was a rational Mulder, if this was your usual Mulder, well, this is a Mulder that he's got one thing on his mind, and that is the return of Scully. He wants Scully back. He's not liking what Dwayne is saying, so he loses it. He loses his cool, and he grabs Dwayne round the neck and starts to squeeze. He stops just before he chokes him, but Dwayne Barry's kind of spluttering and coughing. And just before Mulder leaves, Dwayne does say that he's sorry, and you genuinely believe it, I think.
Yeah, you've got a nice, I'd say, change of pace for both characters here. You've got Dwayne Barry, who looks as if a weight has genuinely been lifted off of him. He just looks less manic, he looks more relaxed. And then you've got Mulder, who looks as if somebody's put a huge weight on top of him. And he's kind of not even leaning towards the aliens. He's just like, did you kill Scully? Have you killed her and hidden her somewhere?
Yeah.
He normally his first jump would be aliens.
Yeah.
And now he's just like, is she alive? And he loses it, which is unlike Mulder again. Loses his cool, starts to attack Barry. Again, it's another really interesting scene. I kind of like this change in pace for the characters. They're not going through the usual motions.
Yeah. And I think a lot of that as well is down... Well, it's down to two things, I think, and that's... One, the stuff that Scully kind of brought up in the previous episode about his psychosis. Although, to be honest, I think that the finding of the implant would have kind of superseded that. But also the fact that Mulder did see the helicopter. And the thing that Barry says was a UFO did look remarkably like the helicopter that turned up just moments later. So, yeah, I think Mulder is definitely having doubts here. And because he doesn't have Scully, he always, when he's without Scully, he does always seem to descend into this world of doubt, doesn't he? He doubts himself incredibly. Yeah, but yeah, there you go. So Mulder comes out, and this is just after Dwayne Barry has apologised, and he hopes that they're not hurting Scully too much with the tests. And Krycek is in the corridor, apparently alone, because just in the scene just a moment ago, we saw these government men kind of just all stood there looking at Dwayne through the window. It seemed really like
weird.
Way to keep it secret, guys. Three. If it was just one, it was just like one odd government suit, I could kind of understand it. But there's three of these dudes all peering through the window, and it's like, if you're trying to keep yourself secret, you're not doing a particularly good job of it. It's just silly thing like that. Just if it had been one guy, I think would have fixed that problem. But so Krycek, it seems, is alone. It was Dwayne just seeing things, or were they really there? And Mulder goes over to the window and just looks out, starts daydreaming, and we start to see what could be either a flashback or a representation of what is actually happening right now in the present to Scully, I should say, or what Mulder is imagining is happening to Scully. I don't know which side of the fence you sit on with that, but
I took it as literal.
I take it as literal, and particularly now that I've seen the whole series, but I just think the way it's shot, because Mulder's kind of off daydreaming, and he looks into this bright light, and the camera kind of slowly zooms into the bright light, and then it flashes into this sequence. So it almost suggests that this could be real, or it could be what Mulder is imagining. This is his worst fear right now.
So I took it as literal. I thought it was terrific design on the fake pregnant belly as well. I thought that was really well done.
That is the best fake pregnant belly I've ever seen in my life.
That's true method acting.
That is
right.
That is pure method acting, that, isn't it?
But again, those spaceship scenes are freaky as hell. Really kind of, I'd say, horrific imagery.
And in this one, you don't know whether it's aliens or the government, because with Dwayne Barry, we saw aliens. There was no two ways about it. Whereas here, we don't get that. We're not told who's got her. So we know she's been abducted. We know she's been abducted in a ship. And when we look at previous episodes such as Deep Throat, in which we saw that the military have that capability, they have those ships, then that feeds into the idea that actually we don't know who's got Scully. And given what Cancer Man said a few episodes back, in all likelihood, it is the military that have her and not aliens. So, we don't know. But Scully's being tested on. And after that, Mulder finds Krycek, after he kind of wakes from his daydream, questioning Dwayne Barry. despite the fact that Mulder told him not to go in the room. He chews him out for going in there, and just as he's kind of chewing Krychek out, Skinner shows up, and just after Skinner shows up, Duane Barry dies. He chokes and he dies. He stops breathing. So was it Mulder with his tight grip around Duane Barry's throat, or was it Rat Boy Krychek?
I think we all know the answer to that one.
Yes, I think we definitely know the answer to that one. Mulder goes to speak to the coroner to find out how Duane Barry died. She says asphyxiation, which obviously points to Mulder. When Mulder asks for the toxicology report, she tells him in the most wooden way that he'll have to go through the correct military channels. Once again, pointing to a military cover-up and just who might actually have Scully. What do you think about this scene?
I think you really get a sense here of Mulder's complete distrust of Krychek now. Because he knows he's the only person that talked to Duane Barry after him. He's died. He wants toxicology. Without saying it, which most other shows would do, he's pretty much going, he poisoned him. Yeah.
And I think the stuff on the cable car as well probably had I think when that was happening, I think he was up there thinking, what the hell is going on right now?
I think if I'm right, I can't remember when, but they mentioned at some point that the guy that operated the cable car was dead.
Well, did they mention he was missing?
Missing.
Right. Yeah. He was missing.
And nobody's curious about where he's gone to? Or?
Yeah. Oh, man. What did you think about the actress playing the coroner?
Yeah, I thought she's the complete opposite of Scully. She was cold. She was it's almost as if she was reading her lines off an auto cue. She just like
she reminded me of do you remember in Jersey Devil we had the county sheriff guy?
Oh yeah.
He literally he turned up, read his lines, and went home. She feels just like that, and there's a moment when she just when she walks out, she kind of puts her tray onto the body, looks up, and walks out, and it's almost like she knows where her cues are, and she hits them. She's done her job.
It's
time to go
high school acting. You know, They walk on. You have to go through proper military channels.
Like at first I thought she was just going to be one of them characters that's just being a bit douchey with Mulder for the sake of being douchey, but then I realised no, she's not douchey. She's just it's the actress. She's just like that's not written. That's just the way she's monotone.
She doesn't return, does she, Brian?
I don't know. I get a feeling I've seen this actress again at some point, but certainly not as this character. She's in the Vancouver
stable
pool of talent, shall we say?
It's a shallow pool.
It's a shallow pool. No, in all fairness, there are quite a lot of people who do make comebacks that are pretty good, actually. Vancouver does have a pretty decent talent pool. It's just that once in a while we get, someone like this. But anyway, Krychek goes to see Cancer Man and asks him why not just kill Mulder, which I'm sure is a question that many viewers have probably thought to themselves at one point. And Cancer Man's answer at this point, at any rate, is if you kill Mulder, you risk turning one man's religion into a crusade. And I think that line of dialogue is very much helped if you've seen an episode like Fallen Angel from the first season. If you remember that episode, you had Max Fennig, and Mulder was a superstar to this guy. You know, you've got all these UFO watchdog groups. They know who Mulder is, and to them, he is essentially their champion. So when you have this line by Cancer Man, it's because of an episode like that it holds some weight, I think. But not only that, but also I think Skinner, because I think Cancer Man probably senses Skinner is not really on his wavelength, doesn't really like him, and in many respects is in Mulder's corner. So yeah, again, you kill Mulder, there's going to be an investigation. Skinner in particular is going to want that investigating, so it's best just to throw him off the trail, shut him up, but don't kill the guy. So he tells Krycek that Krycek is simply to follow orders. So basically, all but says, look, you're my lapdog, so shut up and bark. Until the mission is complete, because he's earned Mulder's trust. That's
what they think.
So they think, but given everything that's happened during this episode, that trust is completely out the window.
And there's a thing mentioned at the end of this conversation as well, where they say that, or he says that Scully has been taken care of. And they do hint to that earlier on in the previous episode, that Scully could be taken care of. So again, it hints towards who has her. Yeah.
So Mulder is in another debrief with Skinner, and he accuses outright Krycek of killing Dwayne Barry. But Krycek's testimony, apparently, because obviously this being after the conversation he's just had with Cancer Man, Krycek has confirmed Mulder's side of the story. So he's almost going to bat for Mulder. Still trying to keep in Mulder's good books there, but he does this by saying that Dwayne Barry was alive when Krycek came into the room. Now Mulder tells them that Dwayne Barry was most likely poisoned, but that the military are covering it up because they know where Scully is. At which point, people basically say that he's paranoid. But Skinner gives Cancer Man a really dirty look, and I don't know if you caught that, but there's after that line in which Mulder says that the military are covering it up because they know where Scully is, Skinner looks over to Cancer Man. And you could almost, I guess you could almost read it. If you were still of the mind that Skinner is bent, you could almost read it as frustration on Skinner's part to Cancer Man that, damn, this guy just won't let it rest, will he? But I think knowing Skinner as we do, and trusting that he's actually a good guy, he looks at Cancer Man and he gives him a dirty look, like almost like he's saying, "Have you got Scully? You arsehole, have you got Scully?" Like, it's almost like it didn't occur to him until Mulder said it. So yeah. And any thoughts on that scene?
No, I pretty much agree with you in that scene. I've got nothing more to really add on that one, but I think you're 100% right.
Okay. Well, Mulder asks Krycek if he can borrow his car. Surprisingly, really, I'm surprised that he even talks to him at this point. But again, it's that whole thing that I think because Krycek's backed him up, Mulder's just, again, also you got to consider Mulder's going without sleep. He's not slept in days. He's completely he's on autopilot. He thinks that Krycek is against him, and then he sees Krycek backing him up. So.
I think it's a case of keep your friends close and your enemies even closer, and then it could be a case of he wants to get into his car to see if there's anything there that would give him away.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not too sure about that, to be honest, because we do. I think if that was the case, then he would search the car the moment he gets in there. But when we have a scene a little later on when he finds Cancer Man's cigarette butts, and it's almost purely by chance that he finds them because he noticed the cigarette case thing just slightly open. So I don't think it's even that. I think it's just ease, to be honest. Krycek's there. Look, pass me your keys. I need to go. So he goes, takes the car. And when he takes the car, Krycek, we get kind of this final moment with him where he does this shifty look, and it's kind of from that moment you sense that that's it. He ain't hanging about. And presumably as well because he knows that Cancer Man's cigarette butts are in there. So that's it. One final look and then he's gone. So Mulder goes to see Senator Matheson. So this is the guy from the first episode of season 2, Little Green Men. This is the guy we thought would be the new Deep Throat, but isn't. The guy who is the new Deep Throat, X, shows up and basically tells Mulder that this guy, this Senator Matheson, don't bother because he is not going to help you out here. We've got stuff on him and we've told him, look, he is not to go near you with a barge pole. What do you think of this scene?
I think it's just one of these scenes again where you have this mystical figure, this mysterious guy who seems intent on offering more questions than he will answers. But unlike Deep Throat, who was a little bit playful with it, this guy just comes right out and makes it feel as if he doesn't want to deal with Mulder. Like, it's a pain. It's a complete pain in the arse having to deal with this guy, and there's no niceties about it.
See, I feel like it's fear. I feel like this guy is scared. I get the sense that Deep Throat was much higher up than this guy, and I think to some extent that's why Deep Throat was able to be playful, as you put it. And I feel like this guy is maybe a couple of rungs under the ladder to what Deep Throat was, and as a result of that, he has a lot of eyes on him, which means that he's got to be a lot more careful than Deep Throat was. He doesn't know who he can trust, and he's always in the shadows. Whenever this guy comes out, he's always in the shadows. So yeah, I feel like a lot of it is fear talking. I feel like he's kind of on Mulder's side, but he also values his life, and if it's a choice between Mulder's crusade or his life, he's going to choose his life. So this is the scene in which we do get the line "deny everything." He says that they have one policy, and that is deny everything.
Lovely policy.
Okay, so there are no answers, Mr. Mulder. They only have one policy: deny everything. So after that, Mulder goes back to Krycek's car, which is when he finds Cancer Man's cigarette butts. So he goes to Skinner with allegations about Krycek. Skinner asks to see Krycek, but Krycek has gone missing. And Mulder argues that they took Scully because she had hard evidence, the chip that was in Duane Barry, and to prevent further involvement with Mulder and his work. Skinner, as a result of this, reopens the X-Files because that's what they fear most, apparently.
I like this scene because you've got Mulder in there laying out this theory that his partner is bad, and you get a sense that Skinner actually values Mulder's work or opinion because he actually listens to it. He takes pause for a minute, and you can actually almost see the man thinking and going like, "Okay, what you got? Like just give it to me. I'm going to go with you." And I think that's nice. You get this sort of build up of, I'd say, sort of like mutual trust and respect. They're not going to be friends. I don't expect them to be friends or anything like that, but you do have this kind of ability of mutual trust between these two characters, and I like it.
Yeah.
Like Skinner's really grown over me in the past few episodes.
Definitely, yeah.
To the point now where I like them, and I like the fact that they're not friends as well.
Yeah.
It's just that two guys that probably don't like each other, but they have a mutual respect.
Yeah, definitely. I do like those scenes between the two. I can't really add to that. Just exactly what you said.
And then I did have a fist bump moment where he says we're opening the X-Files.
See, did you? Because I really felt that in that moment there should have been someone there that Skinner could have a fist bump moment with, but it kind of just went flat because he says it like a pure champion, Skinner. They do this thing where he walks to the camera. You know, the camera's fixed in position, and he walks into it like it's meant to be this really cheer moment. And he goes, "I'm reopening the X-Files. That's what they fear the most." And then Mulder just turns and walks away. He doesn't go, "Oh, thanks," or just little mini fist bump, or a nod, like a little knowing nod, like a thank you kind of thing, and walk out. He just blankly stares at him, turns around, and walks away. And then Skinner's just kind of left there, stood by himself, and you're kind of feeling like, oh, but this guy just like, he pulled one out from Mulder there, and he's just no one's there to give him a little fist bump. But yeah, I found that quite.
I was
amusing.
the other side of the monitor, Brian, with my fist out. I was like, "You the man, Skins."
Yeah. Okay. So Mulder goes to see Mrs. Scully, Scully's mum, and she had the dream again. And there's a nice little line from Mulder in which he says that it's probably scarier when you stop having the dream.
Yeah, that's quite nice.
Yeah, I like that moment. I do like this scene actually between the two of them, and Mulder questions her about why, because he sees Scully as a skeptic, and he questions her about why a skeptic would carry a cross, and Scully gives. Mrs. Scully, I should say, just says that she got it for her 15th birthday. She got it for Scully on her 15th birthday, and she tells him to give it to her when he finds her. Now, I'm pretty sure that later, don't quote me on this, it's been a long time since I've seen, but I'm pretty sure later in the series we are going to get a flashback to a Christmas in which Scully, a very young Scully, and her sister are both given a cross as a Christmas present. So, I'm pretty sure this story by Mrs. Scully is contradicted at a later date. But hey ho.
We do know her birthday wasn't on Christmas.
Oh, yes, I'm pretty sure her birthday wasn't on Christmas.
Okay.
Okay. But yeah, I mean, the whole thing with Scully about her being a skeptic, she's something of a lapsed Catholic. So I feel like that would have been a better answer, maybe. I mean, this is something that will come up in the future. Scully isn't a non-believer. She does have a faith. She has a Christian faith. She is Catholic, though that faith is somewhat lapsed. I think she's come away from the church. Obviously, there's not much of that to give that away at this point in the series, but that will come up. So I almost feel like maybe they didn't know they were going to go down that avenue at this point, but they do. So yeah. So it's interesting just seeing this scene in retrospect. But yeah, anything else to add on this scene?
I like the fact that it puts Mulder into a more emotional sort of state. He's kind of worried. He has this little touching moment with her with the necklace back and forth. It gives you the idea that she knows that Mulder's a big part of Scully's life.
Yeah. Because they could have played this differently, couldn't they? They could have played this in which Scully's mum is very like, you find my daughter, you get your ass out of there and you find my daughter. But they don't. She's really gentle with him. It's like she recognises just how much Scully means to him. And it is a nice exchange, I think. And it's a nice way. It's a different way to play it, I think, than what they could have done. And which I think maybe most TV series would have got.
And it works.
Yeah, definitely works.
And then they finish it all off, we have Mulder at the top of the mountain top looking at the skies.
Yes.
He's back to X-Files is open, it's aliens.
Yep. There you go.
Done. So, I like this episode, Brian.
Okay. Yeah.
I liked it a lot. I like the fact that Dwayne Barry is a little bit more contained in it, but the moments we do have with him, he's very effective. I like the idea of Mulder being driven. I like the fact that Krycek, that kind of storyline, almost comes to a head. The X-Files gets reopened, as we said. It's a major fist pump moment. I feel as if I've finalised my thoughts on Skinner. I do like him. He's a nice addition to the cast, and I'm welcome to see more of him. And then we have X into the mix as well. Altogether, it is a jam-packed episode. There is a lot in this one, and I like it.
Okay.
Now, I can't think of anything that I really dislike much. But again, it's not a 5 for me. But I did like it more than Dwayne Barry.
Right.
So I gave it 4.5 out of 5.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah.
Right. I think structurally, I don't feel this is as strong as Dwayne Barry. I liked that self-contained element of Dwayne Barry. The fact that most of it takes place in one room. And I liked the tension that was in there. You know, who is this guy? This, it kind of feels like it's a bit all over the place. It's a bit choppy for me. It's like we're here, then we're there, then we're there, then we're there, and it's just, yeah. It's one of those episodes where if you take individual scenes on their own, you look at it and you think that's a really strong scene. I like that, but then when you put it within the whole context of the episode, it kind of feels choppy to me. But I do like it. I think it is a good episode. There's a few niggles throughout that kind of bother me, like the whole thing with Mulder on the cable car. It does feel like Krycek is making some bizarre choices there, but also that it feels like we have that scene almost to plod the episode out a bit, to stop Mulder from getting up there too quick. And I guess they're trying to build tension, but yeah, I don't know. And then there's the little thing with the three guys kind of stood outside the window looking really creepy and suspect beyond belief. I mean, all it would have taken is for Mulder to turn. If you turn his head, just in that brief moment, they were risking an awful lot by standing at that window. So it's stupid things like that kind of annoy me. But on the whole, it is still a good episode. It's a strong episode, but it's a little bit of a come down for me after Dwayne Barry. I was torn between a 4 or a 3.5 for this one. I think talking it through with you has helped me a bit to like it that little bit more. So I think I'm going to go with a 4. I think I'll go with a 4 for this one. Yeah.
I'd say overall, it's a better 2-parter than Squeeze and Toombs.
Oh yeah.
Because I feel it's just more consistent. Although Squeeze was an excellent episode, but this one just seems more even across the board.
Yeah, I mean, it helps that this was written as a 2-parter and not as a single episode that eventually had a sequel. This is a complete story. You could have Squeeze and never have Toombs, and you'd be fine. You can't really have Dwayne Barry and not have this episode in that respect. So yeah, it definitely works better as a movie, so to speak.
Okay, all right, Brian, tell me a little bit about 3.
Okay, 3 is an episode which I don't think I'd be too far off the mark in saying that amongst the majority of X-Files fans is universally hated. Don't
sugarcoat it.
Oh man, based on my memories, I think that my prediction is that you are going to sit on the side of the fence that most X-Files fans sit on, which is that you're going to hate it. And I think we're going to have a very similar discussion to what we had when we reviewed the episode Fire. I think The thing is, I don't think it's a very good X-Files episode, but I do think it's a rather good mini vampire movie, and that's about as best as I can say it before we get into it next time.
Excellent. Okay, so that's next up on the docket. So remember and join us next time on X-Files Revisited, and if you don't mind, pop along to iTunes and hit us a little review, hit the 5 stars, and you may win a mystery prize, which is thanks from me and Brian. We really appreciate that. So thanks for listening, and we'll get you next time on X-Files Revisited. Okay.
Yeah, we'll get you next time. That's our promise.